Okay, here we are live. My name is Trey Jadlow, and I'm here with my new friend Jim Gardner. Um, we had a little bit of technical difficulty. I apologize for that. We're starting a few minutes late. Um, and I had I've never met Jim before. So, Jim, first of all, it's nice to meet you, and thank you for
Hi.
agreeing to come with me on
Yeah.
this hangout. Um, I had seen you, somebody else, another one of my friends, I think it was Ozzy, had commented on a video that you had made with Matt Bell. And I don't really know Matt, and I don't really even know what the controversy is so much. But anyway, I was piqued into interest as seeing your video, and so I made an invitation for you to uh, talk about the subject of the existence of God. And as I said, that I am wanting to take the affirmative and actually take the burden of proof and engage this topic. But before we begin, I was wondering if we might get a little bit of information about each of us. Um, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? You live in the UK, is that right?
Right. Yeah, the northeast of England. Yeah.
Okay. And have you lived there your whole life?
On and off. Yeah. Spent a bit of time in Scandinavia and lived in California for a while.
Oh, cool. Okay, so are you a musician or something?
Yeah,
Is that- What do you play the guitar or?
amongst other things. Yeah.
Oh, you play all kinds of things. How come that so many of these atheists are really prodigies with the instrumentation? That's interesting. Seems to be a lot of that. Okay, well, I'm I'm actually unfortunately I'm in the midst of a divorce, and I have six children, ages 24 down to 11, and I'm particularly I live in Kansas City area in the metropolis of Prairie Village, Kansas, where I'm at right now. Is where I'm a dental lab technician. I make teeth for a living, and I'm at the lab right now, finishing up my day. And I've always been fascinated with issues of ultimacy, issues like origins and meaning, and morality, and even in destiny. And so these are issues that are particularly interesting to me. And I am fascinated with those things that are I think most important in life. Um, where would you like to start with this? Would you like me just to open up with my argument for the my perspective on the existence of God?
Oh, well, I find those things fascinating too. Um, so yeah, how about we just dive right in? Perhaps a little bit fast and loose with the term atheist. Um, it's not a label I recognize or assign to myself. I mean, apart from when it's for purposes of brevity,
Mhm.
but non-religious perhaps is better. I've
Okay.
certainly been quite happy to describe myself as a deist in the past. I think we're probably going to argue about agreeing quite a bit as far as um, the uselessness of labels. But yeah, dive right in and let's see what happens.
Okay, well, yeah, if you're a deist, we might be in very, very much agreement here. But I actually value labels. I think they help clarify things. You got to be careful with them, and you've got to be concise and precise with all the labels you use. But so I'm a born again Christian. I've been a Christian about 20, I think about 28 years actually. And I'm going to begin, and I kind of like to work in a Socratic method as I go through these things. So I appreciate dialogue, and I like to ask questions on these things. So I'm going to begin with two presuppositions, basically, and it's going to be the presuppositions of the law of non-contradiction, or the laws of thought, rational coherence, and basic reliability of sense perception. And what I mean by that is not that my senses are infallible, but that I do have a basic correspondence to this world in which we live, because it's the only way that we can relate to this world around us. And all I need is basic sensory perception to say, or to be able to say that I exist as an inquirer. Okay, and that's all that I need. I'm not a presuppositionalist, and that's all that I need for my argument. Are you willing to concede those 2 points?
Well, flesh them out first, and we'll see what I'm willing to concede and what I'm not willing to concede. I mean, this is a rather artificial situation in as much as we literally just met before you clicked the button to go live.
Yeah, we didn't talk before the show at all, really. As soon as he came on, we went live. Okay. Um, I've not had anybody yet differ with me on those two presuppositions, but those are going to be my basic starting points, okay? And my argument for God is going to be one that I would say is a scientific argument. And the scientific argument is built upon both induction and deduction. And when you have induction where you're gathering information and you're going from the broad to particular, and you're using your senses to do that. And then after you get that information, basically the scientific method is really just categorization, and
No, the scientific method is dependent upon evidence.
yes, it's evidence, and it's sensory evidence. Would you agree with that?
Not really, no. There are plenty of kinds of scientific evidence which uh, don't require the person actually carrying out the science to either believe or disbelieve. It's just an observation of that which is.
Okay, but it's an observation that is based on sensory perception, right? It may not be yours, but it's got to be you got to be able to see it, touch it, taste it, and feel it, right? For the scientific method.
Not necessarily, no. It's based upon data. It's what can be gathered.
How do you gather it?
Well, clearly you use your senses and all of that, right? But let's not mix and match here, okay? Um, I'm pleased to hear you describe yourself as not being a presuppositionalist, and then dismayed to find that you make two presuppositions, as if I'm not supposed to notice that you slip
Oh
away.
no, but here's what you have to say. We all have to make presuppositions, and you, as an atheist, this is why I picked those presuppositions. They're the same presuppositions that you have. You presuppose rational coherence when you employ the scientific method, and you presuppose the basic reliability of sense perception. Do you not?
And you're presupposing that I'm an atheist when I've already explained that I'm not.
No, I'm not. I happily conceded that if you say you're a deist, you're a deist. I'll take it at your word. I'm not. Why would I say you're something you're not? I said you were an atheist because I
Literally
thought you
just
were,
said
but
I'm
you're
an
not.
atheist. You must do this.
I'm
You put
sorry?
words in my mouth, and then when I picked you up on it, you said that you weren't saying that. But anyway, we can trust the
No, let me. If I
surroundings to
called you an
notice what
atheist, I
happened.
was wrong. I apologize. If I mean, I'm sorry if that's offensive to you, but uh, yeah, I mean, I called you an atheist when we first started, but that's not a big deal to me. I mean, yeah, I'm wrong. I admit it. You're a deist or an agnostic or whatever you say you are. That's fine. I don't mean to put words in your mouth. That's not my intent whatsoever. That's not helpful at all. Um, but I will say that you rely on the basic reliability of sense perception and a law of non-contradiction. That's what the scientific method is.
Okay,
Um,
well, let's flesh that out. What are you using to just go into more depth on the first presupposition?
okay, well, I have to have both the presupposition. The scientific method is based upon induction and deduction. All right, you experience these things in this world in which we live, and then from that data that you have received, you sift it through a logical construct, and then you categorize it. For example, law of non-contradiction says something cannot be and not be at the same time in the same relationship. You're employing that when you deduce from the information that you have. As you're categorizing all of this broad information into the particulars, you're engaging the method of deduction or logical coherence. So exactly one half of the scientific method is based upon, and so you get the sensory data, then you filter it through and you categorize it with that. With that tool, the tool of what Aristotle called the organon of inquiry, the organ, the very basic, it doesn't have content, it's an instrument of logic. Okay, so from there I'm going to go and I'm going to say that I know with my basic sense perception that I, as an inquirer, exist. Okay, and it's not something I can doubt because if I say that I, as the inquirer, do not exist, then there's no inquiry. Okay, and then from there I go that I, as an inquirer, I scientifically know that. I use my sense perception to know that I exist. And some people want to say, well, you can't get any farther than a brain in a vat. We don't know that everything around us is, not real. Well, I don't really care. That doesn't matter. All I need is one thing, and I know that I myself exist through my sensory perception. Then, as I know that I exist, I know that I am not self-existent. Okay. And I know that because I know that I was born. I know that I need water. I know that I'm contingent. I'm dependent on other things in order to have my existence. And that which is not self-existent, is contingent in its existence. It's dependent for its existence. And so what I do from that information that I gain scientifically, I logically deduce that contingent existence cannot create itself before it exists. In other words, I could not have made myself before I was. And you can say, well, you came from your parents, and I say, just keep on extrapolating back. And if you're going to have contingent existence, then logically, the law of non-contradiction requires that you posit the existence of self-existence. There must be something somewhere, somehow, that has the power of existing in and of itself in order to bring about contingent existence, because if there were no self-existence, there would be no contingent existence, because law of non-contradiction says something cannot be and not be at the same time and in the same relationship. Contingency cannot create itself before it exists. Does that make sense?
I'm just waiting for you to get to the part where this proves the existence of the particular God you just so happen to believe in.
Oh, I'm not making that argument yet. I'm making an argument for the existence of a self-existent creator. Do you concede that?
Well, this is where we're going to get into the territory of agreeing with each other, basically. I just don't feel the need to call it God because of the religious baggage that comes with it. But I think the universe is incredible enough without having to make the giant leap that we are capable of understanding where it came from, at least as yet. Although I'm sure at some point in the future we will get there. But you know, I part from many of my non-religious brethren, and as much as that, I'm quite happy to concede the use of the word God in that way. But it gets clumsy, because as soon as you start saying that out loud, people assume that you mean the God of a particular religion, a God that we can know anything about, whereas I'm merely referring to how incredible the universe is, how incredible nature is, how much more incredible it is that we can figure out what we've already figured out. That's enough for me. I don't need to get greedy and presume to have a personal relationship with the creator of the universe. I don't need to inflate my own ego to that extent. I'm quite happy to exist.
Okay.
The rest is candy.
Okay, so are you saying that if we were created by a self-existent creator, then that creator does not have the capacity to engage or relate to us? I'm not sure I understand that.
Well, if let's, for purposes of brevity, refer to it as he. Let's assume that he can. I'm not impressed so far. I mean, if revealing yourself to some Bronze Age goat herders stands as proof of existing, then I'm not impressed.
We do agree that he's volitional, right?
Say that again, sorry?
He is volitional. He has a will.
No, I don't make that assumption at all, no.
Okay, well, how do you justify your volition, your will? Is it an accident? Mm-hmm.
I don't see how that's related. Explain to me the connection.
You're a purposive creature, is that correct? You have purpose, right?
Your sound is doing something a little bit odd. I'm a what, sorry?
A purposive creature, that you purpose things. You have volition, your will. You will to eat, you will to live, you will to be kind to people, all kinds of stuff. You have purpose, is that correct?
I wouldn't say I have a purpose, no. I attempt to be a conscientious person in my day-to-day interactions, but I don't think.
Okay, well, that's a purpose.
In fact, I'd be quite disappointed if there was.
Okay, but you purpose to do things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that purpose that you have an accident?
Oh, it's entirely possible, yeah. In fact, I hope it is.
Okay, so what you're saying is that intentionality was unintentioned. Is that correct?
I don't understand why you're feeling the need to put such strange words onto it. I'm a conscientious person who tries my best to negotiate my way through life, being as honest as I possibly can with everyone I interact with. Please get to the part where that proves Yahweh exists.
Well, I'm trying to get there. So you concede that you are that you have a moral code that you try to keep. Is that correct?
The golden rule, yeah, that's about as far as it goes.
Okay. So in the golden rule, is it fair to say that that's a moral imperative for you?
It's nothing to do with me. It's a moral imperative for anybody who cares about being a conscientious person.
Okay, so the goal is to care for humanity, right? Or existence.
The hope is that I will, on my dying day, be able to look in the mirror and say that I've lived a good life. Anything after that is candy.
Okay, so life is special.
Mine's pretty cool, yeah.
Why?
Well, because I play guitar and I get paid for it. I've got lots of things going on. Life's
I'm,
grand. I honestly
I'm
don't.
asking. I'm asking for a reason. You're giving me emotions. I'm saying, why is life special when really, in objective reality, it's not special? Why do you treat it as if it is?
Well, now then, have you ever seen the world around you? It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Um, well, does the universe care if you exist?
No,
Okay. Why do you act like it does?
because I exist and I care about the truth. I care about getting
Okay.
to a place where I can understand how things work. I like taking things apart and putting them back together again.
Okay, and I'm asking why though. I mean, you're just saying, yeah, I do this because that's the way it is, but I'm saying, why would you care about and give value to that which is intrinsically invaluable?
Because the meaning of life is to give life.
The meaning of life is to give life. Is that what you said? You kind of cut out.
The meaning of life is to give life meaning.
Oh, okay. So you're assuming a meta narrative. There's a value. There is a plan that we're all supposed to follow. That life is very special and we should treat it that way. Is that what you're saying?
We should respect one another, yeah.
Why?
It would be nice, would it not, to live in a world where there's no war, there's no killing. Why? Well, now you're starting to sound like one of those kids that just constantly asks the why question. Maybe you should tell me why. That would be a better world to live in.
Okay.
And pay particularly close attention to what the first step would be in order to achieve that. And I can give you a hint. It involves no more religion.
Okay. Well, I'm not really, I don't really care about religion or Christianity or anything like that. I care about what's true, and I want to live a life that corresponds to reality. That's my big goal with my life. And if my perspective is wrong, I'm happy to leave it. I'm happy to leave. I'm a Christian, born again Christian. I'm happy to leave that if it's not true. So my goal is not to push my views. My goal is to find reality and to bow my knee to it. And for me, it's a logical corollary. If in fact I was created, the very fact that contingency exists, dependent existence exists, it is valuable by definition because it was created. In other words, somebody had to value it in order to make it to be. And by its very existence, it proves purposiveness by its very existence. So I have a rational justification. I was created by a self-existent creator for his glory, and that is the
For a
purpose of life.
presuppositionalist, you sure make a lot of assumptions. For a non-presuppositionist,
Oh, a
excuse me.
non-presupposition. How do I make an assumption? I'm reasoning the argument here with you.
Well, I think you need to make it a lot clearer because all I'm hearing is a rehearsed argument when what we should be doing is having a conversation.
Okay, let me say it again. I I believe that if contingency exists, it had to be created. Do you concede that?
Describe contingency. What do you mean by contingency?
Dependent existence, that which came into existence. It would be also called an effect. In other words, for an effect to happen, effects happen, it would need to be caused because an effect cannot make itself before it is. So you came into existence, you were born.
I
Um,
understand that this is the part where I'm supposed to play the game. Go ahead, tell me what caused it.
well, we've already talked about that. It's a self-existent creator. If something is created,
There's your first assumption that I have to stop you right now.
okay,
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about a cause,
Right. And what is that cause in your opinion?
a self-existent
And
creator.
what does that mean?
It means that which gives rise to contingency, which is a logical necessity and scientific.
Okay, I see where this is going. Do you want to fast forward to the part where this has something to do with you being a Christian so that we can just get to the meat and potatoes of it? Because I'm not going to play this game of pretending that I agree with something that you're deliberately making confusing.
It's a bit confusing. How is it confusing? It seems a real simple
Because
argument to
you're
me.
using ink speak, you're using vocabulary, you're using rehearsed opinions. You're not telling me what you actually think. Using phrases that make it sound like you've read some books, you've got a philosophical background, you've got this, you've got that. It's a scientific argument as well. Pretty pleased with a cherry on top. Don't talk down to me. Tell me what it is our argument actually
Uh,
consists of.
Jim, I'm not trying to talk down to you at all. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm not just repeating. Well, I can say the argumentation that I have. First of all, it's not new. But the vast majority of all I learned in these three basically teaching series from a man named R.C. Sproul, and he's a theologian and philosopher. And I'm basically using Thomistic argumentation, which before him was
And that
Augustinian.
means what exactly?
Thomistic argumentation. It's an argument from causality, that the cosmological argument. There must be, if there's an effect, that there must be a cause. It just says that things don't make themselves before they exist. And that's the type of argumentation I'm using here. I don't.
But with respect, and I'm sure you're a nice guy, and I really don't mean to be in your face about it. I'm also aware of the fact that there's, with respect, it's gobbledygook. Okay,
Okay.
it's gobbledygook. It doesn't make any sense. It's just word soup that's made. I think you hope it makes you sound like you know what you're talking about, and I'm sure in your mind you've got it straight. I don't think you're insane. It's just that to me, coming in new, to coming in fresh, purposefully avoiding actually looking at your timeline on Google Plus, so that I could just purely meet you face to face for the first time without any prejudice about it. You're not making any sense. You're
Okay.
not explaining the concept to me at all.
Okay. What part do you not understand?
I'm I'm still waiting for you to get to the part where everything you've just said connects to the particular God of the particular religion you just
I'm not
found.
making an argument for a particular God right now.
Okay, well, I think you are because you wanted me to ask you what the cause was. So maybe you should just go ahead and tell me.
I'm saying my argument right now is for a self-existent creator who is volitional, um, who had to create everything because contingency is dependent upon that which gives it existence. And therefore, that which gives it existence is that which had to choose to create it. I think what we're arguing right now, because you kind of concede the point of there being something with self-existence, but the volitional part you're having a hard time with, is that correct?
I'm not having a hard time with it at all. No, I'm just wondering why you feel the need to use this word soup instead of just explaining it.
I don't know what you mean by what words are you not understanding? Um, I mean, it's cause and effect. I mean, volitional. Is that what? Did you have a will? Um,
How many non-religious people have fallen to their knees and accepted Jesus Christ as their personal savior having heard this argument?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm not understanding what does that have to do with the argument?
Well, presumably that's what you're hoping to get to here. Do you accept Jesus Christ as your personal savior?
Do I?
Hmm.
Well, yes. I'm a born again Christian. I said that.
Right. So please get from the argument that you've put so far to the part where it has something to do with Jesus being the creator of the universe in human form.
Okay. Well, we need to move step by step from that. Do you concede that from my argument that that which exists, which is volitional, which is you, were created by a volitional creature? You're having a
No.
hard time with that, and I need you to rebut it.
Well, if you want me to go down the avenue of saying that, life is an emergent property of Darwinian evolution, then I will. But I rather suspect that you're a creationist, am I right?
If I'm making an argument for a God who created the world, all of contingent existence, yes, I would say I'm a creationist. Yeah, I don't understand. Darwinian evolution has no efficient cause. It has no creator. It's it relies upon self-creation as not only at the beginning in the cosmology.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It leaves a question mark as to where life originated.
Okay, but I don't even need that. I mean, I don't even need to talk about it. I'm just talking about it as a process. There's no efficient cause of a process. If Aristotelian causality has cause into several different categories, and one of those is the efficient cause. It means that which brings about the effect. Darwinian evolution values life. Darwin's origin on the origin of species by means of natural selection, and by means of natural selection. Um, let's see, I can't think of the subtitle. In the struggle for life. Anyway, the whole Darwinian evolution is talking about how this struggling for life by means of natural selection. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but let me look it up here in a minute. But so even in the title of the book, here it is. It's on the origin of species and natural selection, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. Okay, and then and Darwin is saying there is a struggle for life. Everybody is trying to live, which is teleological, which means that it's trying to live. And a Darwinianist might say, or Darwinist might say, we're struggling for life only not in a meta sense, but in a small sense, which they might call it teleonomy rather than teleology, which means purpose. But that doesn't matter. If there's any purpose whatsoever, there must be a purposer. If we are a dependent purposer, there must be a self-existent purposer, because things don't purpose before they are. This is the
No,
whole.
but there's your leap. There's your leap again.
Okay.
How are you getting from that to the other?
I'm saying contingent purposers don't purpose themselves before they exist. How's that a leap?
So why is a contingent purpose for it necessary? What is it? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about dependent things that come into exist that have purpose, that are volitional, that are trying to live.
But what if there is no purpose?
You just said there is a purpose in your life. You purpose to
No, I
eat.
said the meaning of life is to give life meaning.
That's
You're
a
using
meaning.
two different definitions of the same word. We might use the word purpose in kind of conversational, colloquial language, right? You're giving it a meaning which goes beyond that, that it has a pre-written purpose, that it has a predestination. And that's not a leap that I'm prepared to make.
Well, I think you're the one that's making the leap by saying that purpose makes itself before it exists. Is that correct?
No, of course I'm not saying. What do you mean? Say that again in English.
Um, you are a purposer. You say that you should make meaning in life, right?
In your day-to-day interactions, yes.
Okay, and you came into existence. You were born. Is that right?
No, I appeared as if by magic.
Okay. So if you were born and if you are a purposer, how is it that the purpose could create itself before it exists? There must be a self-existent purposer in order for there to be any purpose whatsoever. You can say there's not a meta purpose or a big purpose. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Any purpose requires self-existent person to give personhood that is purposive.
How would you falsify that claim?
By your existence.
No, I'm saying if it's a scientific claim, what would be the method that you would adopt in order to try
I
and
would
attempt?
I would ask somebody like you if you are
No,
purposive.
but I'm just an individual. It doesn't matter what I think. What's your data set? What information are you going to go to compare and contrast?
I'm not sure what more I could do than to interact with the data that is pertinent to the experiment, which is you or
I've got nothing
anybody.
at all to do with it. I've got nothing at all to do with it.
You're having a conversation, aren't you?
Yeah, we're having a conversation of sorts, but my opinion doesn't matter one way or the other as to whether or not you can demonstrate
I'm not
the
appealing to your opinion.
falsification process that your scientific method would need to go through in order to either prove that it's true or demonstrate that it isn't. So I'm asking you again, what what method of falsification would you adopt in order to test whether or not your hypothesis is true?
I am using my sensory perception to know that there is such a thing as purpose. In fact, the very fact that I'm questioning it is purposive. And if in fact that exists, and if I'm a contingent purposer, then it logically, necessarily follows that there must be some purposer that is self-existent. Otherwise, there would be no contingent purposer or dependent purposer.
Okay, well, you going with the words over and over again. What method would you use in order to prove yourself wrong?
I am using the empirical data of my own investigation.
And what does that reveal about the weak spots in your own argument?
Well, what weak spots are there? It's an analytic
Doesn't matter
argument.
what I think.
Do you
It
know,
doesn't matter what I think.
do you know what an
This is your argument, not mine. I'm asking you to demonstrate what process you've gone through in order to establish whether or not it works.
I talked to Jim Gardner just 30 seconds ago and asked him if he was a purposer, and he said he was.
No, I didn't. I asked you to expand upon what exactly you meant by that.
I'm
I
not
can
sure.
see that purpose has two meanings. If you want to play the semantic word game, then let's give Cy ten Bruggencate a call.
I'm not a presuppositionalist. So I guess I'm not understanding what you're doing. I'm conducting a scientific experiment right now, and I asked you a question, and you affirmed my position, but then you deny my conclusion, but you haven't given a
No, you
rebuttal to
wanted
it.
me to affirm your position so that you could move on to the next part where you back me into a corner so that it sounds as if I said something that I haven't. I've played this game before. Please get to the part where this proves Jesus is real.
Okay, this is an argument that builds upon one thing upon another, and it's all rationally coherent. I'm not interested in hearing things because somebody tells me it's true, but I want to
If it
know
was
it's true for
rational, I
myself.
would agree with you.
Pardon me?
If it was rational, I would be able to agree with you without feeling
Okay.
as if I'm being backed into a corner.
Okay,
But
then
you're
why
not
can't you?
explaining it as you go along. You're making statements, blanket statements, Barnum statements that I'm supposed to go along with on the assumption that I'm being bamboozled down somewhere. I don't know why you feel the need to take that approach.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I don't think this is going anywhere. Maybe we could do this with a moderator or something, and it might be a little more helpful. But I'm not meaning to back you into a corner, Jim. I'm not trying to play any games. I'm just trying to build an argument point by point, and you're accusing me of being dishonest or something, and I'm not meaning to be
Well,
that at all.
with respect, it's not you, it's me. Okay, this isn't about you personally. This is about making sure that what's happened in the past never happens again, right? I wanted to say at the beginning of the conversation, but we went live real quick because I was late due to the fact I'm using a new piece of equipment. That I usually have certain stipulations for getting involved in these things, whereby it's agreed that it'll be given away for free, that it won't be edited, nobody's microphone will be muted. Now I figured that because there was only going to be us two, that it wasn't necessary to go into that. But you have to bear in mind, I've had more than my fair share of aggressive arseholes who claim to be Christians
Okay.
come at me every which way that you can imagine with, frankly, bullshit. And it's necessary when you get to a certain point to look at yourself and say, I'm not going to walk into that situation again, right? And if it makes you a little bit defensive, then so be it.
I understand.
Now, what I'm hearing from you, and I'm sure you're a nice guy, by the way. It's unfortunate that we should, jump into this conversation right off the bat. If we were sitting next to each other on the tube, this wouldn't be the first part of call. We'd, perhaps talk about Jimi Hendrix for a while, and then, go for a beer or whatever. We've gone straight into it. All right.
Sure.
I understand that. I want you to present it in a way where you're the one that's claiming to be in possession of this truth here, okay? I'm prepared to concede that you might actually be telling the truth. And so far, all I've heard is Christianese, in-speak, vocabulary. If it's as powerful as you think that it is, and presuming that you describe yourself as a born-again evangelical, it's enough to persuade you, clearly a well-read man, please, pretty please, put it into a way that can be understood by people like me, so that it doesn't sound like I'm being bamboozled into accepting something which in fact I don't agree with.
Okay, my friend, I'm just not able to do that. I don't know I don't know how. I'm not using Christian either. I can assure you, Christians don't use the terminology I'm using. It may be a little stilted or something, and I don't want to be that way. But I mean, we've gone around and around several times, and I've tried to explain it in a way that that I won't sound like I'm trying to be tricky or anything like that. But it just doesn't seem to work. I think maybe we should just.
Is it possible then that in fact that's because it doesn't work?
Sure,
as an argument.
That's possible. I don't see it because you haven't rebutted it. That's the thing. But it's certainly possible.
To rebut. You're just throwing things out that don't make any sense to me. Hey, maybe I'm thick, right? Maybe I'm really stupid. That's entirely possible. I don't claim to be the brightest person in the world, right? But you're just throwing words at me that don't make any sense. And I'm intrigued by the fact that you don't seem to be able to break it down into common language. It seems to me that, you know, if the creator of the universe wants us to know him in this way, then he'd make it easy enough for people like me to understand, especially given that I've been looking for a definition of God for the past 20 years that actually makes sense. And I'm still waiting.
Okay. Well, like I said, maybe we can interact, and I think it would be best if we interacted. It might be in a hangout, or it might be somewhere where there's a moderator that can bring this, because we're at an impasse here where we're not communicating at all, and I can assure you that I'm not trying to play games, but you perceive me to be doing so, and I just don't see how we can move forward from here on that.
Okay.
So I think it's best that we probably just would just move on, and I thank you for entertaining me with the opportunity, and maybe we can interact in the future more so, but I think it needs to be in a moderated session.
Well, okay. I can guarantee that you're going to say something after I've left. You're going to post something or write something on Google Plus along the lines of me agreeing with something that in fact I didn't agree with, but we'll see. If we're going to do a moderated...
I won't do that, Jim. One thing I noticed, I feel bad that you've been treated the way you have, and I know that Christians many times will do that, especially when you get backed into a corner. I mean, we all want to do that. You know, when we have our worldviews challenged and we can't answer it, you know, we get defensive and we can be unkind and slander people even. And I know that Christians, people who call themselves Christians, do it, especially in the Google. I'm telling you, man, in the Google community, Google Hangout or Google Plus, these people that call themselves Christians, I cannot get my mind. You know, Jim, the way these guys act, they don't act like Christians. They call themselves Christians, and I'm not going to mention any names, but you know who I'm talking about. Some of these people recently that had some meltdowns, I'm thinking, what in the world is going on with these people? So I'm sympathetic.
That's why I'm probably a little bit on the defensive, because I'm not going to get embroiled in another thing with these weirdos who just, you know, it's not worth my time. I've had a hard week.
Sure.
And I was hoping that we could sit down and just have a conversation about what it is exactly that your argument is, and it didn't make any sense. So.
Yeah, I think it'd be better for us if we were more in a group environment, and I can't do hangouts during the days very well, but hopefully in the future maybe we can be in a hangout together where we can discuss these things in a group, and I think it would probably work better that way. But
okay, I nominate Christopher Mowdy to be the moderator if you want to do
well,
three.
I'm supposed to be going with someone else. Negation of P. And Chris is, I really like Christopher. He's a delightful fellow. We've done hangouts together. He's moderated for me, and I love him. He's so fair, and he's very intelligent, and he does things well. So, you know, maybe something like that would be better. And this was a real cold turkey because I'd never heard of you before. I don't think you knew me either. And so we just yesterday I jumped in there and made the invitation. So why don't we do that? We'll just look forward to something in the future, and maybe we can work something out and maybe make some more headway. That sound good to you?
You've got my Google Plus profile, so yeah.
Okay, great, great. Well, thanks for entertaining me, and all the best to you. And like I said, I'm sorry the way you've been treated. I don't argue with that because I see it all the time on these things, and so I apologize for that. And hopefully we can get together in the future.
Okay.
Okay, all the best
Take it
to you.
easy.
Okay,
Bye now.
bye.